We're live.
We're
Yeah.
live.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. This is Susanna and Flavia from Traveling and Living in Peru. We are here to start a weekly Q&A session with our followers, so we can answer questions you may have about traveling to Peru, the restrictions that are in place, the protocols, the safety protocols that we might have for our tours, and for in general public safety measures that you will need to know once you get to Peru. So we got a lot of questions. Thanks so much to everyone who submitted via Facebook, Instagram, our newsletter. If you are not part of our newsletter, you can sign up on our Facebook page. It's really quick and easy, and we'll keep you informed there too. And throughout the Q&A, we're also going to send you some links so you can get further information about all of these measures. So we're going to start. Yeah, Flavia, do you have anything to say?
Well, just say hi, everyone. Nice meeting you. Well, as Susanna was
Virtually.
saying, virtually, of course. As Susanna was saying, this is one of our first live Q&As that we're gonna have weekly, and we're excited to be here and help you through this situation that sometimes is changing a little bit constantly.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, I work with our content on our website, and Flavia is one of our travel planners. So, any questions you might have about tours and visiting different places in Peru, she'll be your main contact. And we can add our email, which is yourfriends@livinginperu.com. But
Mhm.
yeah, let's start. Also, if you guys want to send out questions in the comments, we'll be sure to get to them at the end. If we don't
Right.
get to it this time, we're going to do this again next week. So just keep watching us.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's start. The biggest question everyone has is Peru really safe to travel? We got that from a few people, Filomena and Mahlon. Hi, if you're out there. Um, and the real, there is no true 100% accurate answer. As you know, the situation in Peru and other places is severe. There are still, many cases in Peru. Hospitalization is critical, but the full lockdown has been lifted. It like the restrictions varies from region to region. There are high level alerts. There's an extreme risk region. Actually, we have maps that that we put in our travel updates post. So Flavia is gonna
Mhm.
send that link so you can see what regions are in high risk, just very high and extreme. And there are some social immobilization measures, like the curfew, which is 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. in most places, and in some that are not very high risk, it's 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Mhm.
As you know, in March, the government decided to open the country for tourism so travelers can come. And, while we want people to come to Peru, and we hope that this situation improves over time. We want you guys to take precautions and figure out on your terms whether it's safe for you to come to Peru. The vaccination process has started in Peru, and it little by little things are improving.
Mhm.
So I think that answers that question. We also want to send you the safety protocols that are in place if you decide to travel to Peru. So we'll send that link too.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to answer the second one?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the second question that we had is I'm traveling to Peru in April and May. Will it be okay to fly there? We got this question from Eleonora, who's gonna be in Cusco on April 28th, and then chance is coming in April 15, and then Sagalido, sorry if I'm pronouncing really bad your names, is coming to Peru in May. And well, as now tourism is permitted, yes, there are places that are already opened, but things are continue changing. Like they're changing constantly. There are places that are open, other places that they're not. Um, but it is possible to fly to Cusco, or if you want to fly to Cusco, it's and there are some attractions that are already open, like not all of them, but for example, Machu Picchu is open, the nearby ruins of Sacsayhuaman, Kenko, Tambomachay, Pucara, Machu Picchu, the Sacred Valley in Maras, Moray, Chincheros. They're all of them open, the Rainbow Mountain and the Umantay Lagoon. However, there are other places that they're closed. So definitely, and this is changing. So definitely, you every time that you're planning, you have to be asking which places are already open. Some of them they are, some of them they're not.
And the Inca Trail is also open too, right?
Oh yes, but only the 2 day, 1 night Inca Trail.
Okay.
Cause the 4 days, 3 nights with camping and all of that is not open yet. And the 2 days, 1 night is you just walk from kilometer 101 to Machu Picchu, and then you sleep in Aguascalientes, and then the next day you visit again Machu Picchu. But that's the only route that's open for Inca Trail.
And you can book it for these upcoming months for April and May.
Right. Yes, there are
Okay.
still you have spaces available.
Cool. Okay. So yes, it is safe to travel to Peru. It is open. You are able to travel to Cusco, and we hope that it stays that way in April and in May.
Right.
So the next question we had is about leaving Peru. So
Mm-hmm.
there was this document, Alta Epidemiológica, which is the COVID-19 discharge. So let's say you had
Mm-hmm.
COVID, and you get the documentation that you've been discharged, that you are COVID free. Is it correct, Flavia?
Right. Correct.
And so the question was, do you need that to leave the country? And you need to definitely check the requirements for this document and other things with the airline that you're flying with and the country of destination that you're going to. So those will inform you of what things you need to do. For example, if you need the PCR test document 72 hours in advance, it will be if the airline requires it and the country you're going to requires it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's for leaving Peru. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, another question that we got is what are the requirements for when you arrive to Peru? This is the most asked question, and we're going to talk about the quarantine and everything because we know that everyone wants to know about this. So we got this question from many people as Cody, Kavita, Maya, Brian, Steve, Mahalan, and Shane. And first of all, to enter to Peru, you need a PCR test. Definitely, that's 100% one thing that you need. And the result has to come within 72 hours before arrival to Peru. What does it mean? That means if you're coming on a Monday, you're arriving to Peru on Monday, you need to have your results by like from Friday to Sunday. Like those between those days, you need to have them. So when you arrive on Monday, you can show it. It's like within the 72 hours. That's one thing, and also for the flights, everyone wear a mask. And one another thing is like you have to wear a face shield. Um, for example, I have this personal experience that when I was coming traveling from the U.S. to Peru, I did a layover in Panama, and they didn't require me the face mask, the face shield, sorry, from the U.S. to Panama. But before boarding my plane from Panama to Peru, they were like, "You actually need it, and if you don't have it, you can't board." So
Yeah.
Guys, please wear your face shields. That's one thing. And also, you have to sign the electronic health affidavit,
Affidavit.
which
Yeah.
affidavit, yeah, which we're gonna link this in the chat in a little bit. But you can find it also in our update of the travel post.
And it's really easy, right? It's
Yeah,
electronic. You just put your information and sign it, and then you
yeah.
present.
Yeah, you put all your information that they ask you, and then you have to present it when you arrive to Peru in immigration. You have to have it or else in your phone, or you can actually print it out too. So that's the two forms that you can do. And also, now the 14-day mandatory quarantine is still mandatory. However, how you can lift it out. There's this new rule that as soon as you arrive to the country, to Peru, you can take in the airport an antigen test to lift that quarantine. So you arrive, you say you just want to take the test. The test is about 160 to 180 soles to take it over there. And if you have a negative result, you don't do the quarantine. If you have a positive result, you will be taken to the Pan American Villa to do the quarantine, or else also you can actually say, I want to do it in a hotel. You can do it in a hotel, but it's in your own expense, or else in a family house. If you have family here, also you can do it, but you have to do actually the quarantine. So this is the only way for you to live that 14-day mandatory quarantine that is still going on. We know that's kind of like it was kind of tricky when they were giving the information to the government, but now like they clarify that it's still mandatory. But if you want to be lifted, you have to take this antigen test that you have to pay for it. And one more thing is like even if you are vaccinated, you have to do everything like have the PCR test, wear your mask, the face shield, the health paper, and also take an antigen test when you arrive if you don't want to do the 14-day quarantine, because even though you're vaccinated, you can still carry the virus. That's what the some information, so that's why they're keeping this rule for absolutely everyone, no matter if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated.
Yeah. Okay, so the following question is, when will international flights be open between the UK and Peru? And we, don't know. We don't want to guess. This is a serious situation in the UK. Many countries have restricted entrance from UK flights and travelers. So it really does depend on the situation there and how it improves over there. They've already, approved flights for more than 8 hours from all of Europe, minus the UK. So we will definitely keep people updated, and hope that it changes soon.
Yeah, and to add a little bit more is as Susanna said, like no flights from the UK, also South Africa and Brazil. So even if you've been like had been 14 days before like over there, try to do a quarantine before traveling to Peru, or else you won't be permitted like to enter to the country if you have been the last 14 days in any of those countries. And well, now we have another question. It's do you recommend getting vaccinated? This was from Eleonora. Well, while we do recommend getting vaccinated, Peru is still asking that every person entering to the country meet all the requirements mentioned earlier, since the vaccine protects you for some time, but you can still carry the virus. So as I was mentioning it before, like you can get vaccinated in your country. You're very welcome to come here. Like Peru, it will wait for you with open arms, but you still have to follow all the requirements that they're asking.
And we also got a few questions about traveling within the country. So Tom was asking if there's air service to Ayacucho. And Latam flies to Ayacucho right now, and Star Peru and Sky Airlines will hopefully soon start operating to Ayacucho.
Right. Then another question: what are the conditions regarding the northern beaches areas around Máncora and Los Órganos? This question was asked by Daryl, and actually the beaches are open right now in Piura. Now they're in a high level, so that's why they have opened. However, as with all areas in Peru, people must practice social distance measures when you're going there. Definitely.
And also in our post about COVID updates, we added the restrictions that will be in place for Holy Week, which is April 1st through the 4th. As people know, it's a big celebration, not just in Peru, but in other countries. And all of that, needs to be contained in order to fight the virus. So there will be a curfew, a mandatory curfew, and social immobilization during those days. And all of the details are in our post with the updates.
Right.
Um, so another question about traveling within the country is, what are the protocols for air and bus travel? For air travel, you will need your face mask, your face shield. You do not need the PCR test anymore to travel via air within Peru. You do need to fill out the health affidavit, and that's the same for bus travel. And for bus too, you do need the face mask and shield.
Right. Well, another question that we got was, what are the protocols for restaurants in Lima and elsewhere? So, the dining protocols vary from region to region, depending on the level of alert. For example, the places that are in high risk, alto riesgo, like Piura, restaurants can operate at 50% of their capacity inside the restaurant and 60% of their capacity outside the restaurant, like dining outside. And then in very high level and extreme risk places, such as Lima, Cusco, restaurants operate at 30% capacity and must have proper ventilation.
Yeah, and delivery service for
Oh,
restaurants has been
yes.
operating for all regions, and
Right.
gotta say that the service for delivery has improved tremendously because of the pandemic. We have restaurant reviews and delivery reviews on our website if you want to check them out. But yeah, restaurants are open with limited capacity.
Right.
Um, okay, next question. So, if you get COVID while in Peru, what would I expect in terms of needing to go to the hospital, etc.? And this is from Daryl too. Um, we recommend you check with your travel insurance, your international insurance once you're here, just to know like what should you expect to where to go, whether it's clinic or which clinic, because all of them operate at different capacities, different levels. So please do check with your travel insurance. That's the best way to know that you will be
Mm-hmm.
safeguarded and be able to get service treatment for COVID. Um, Once you do take a test at a lab or a clinic in Peru, and it does test or come out positive, while the symptoms are vary from person to person, as in other places, the first thing you have to do is isolate yourself and quarantine at home. So that's the first line of defense, if you do test positive.
Right. And well, the next question was, are land borders with Ecuador open now? This question was from Victoria. And as of February, land borders are still closed with Ecuador. We will update our COVID-19 article when they will open. They are still having conversations to see when the best time and the measures to open them. So basically, right now, what it's the borders that are open are the ones that are by airplane air borders are complete are open to some places, as we were talking about, places that are like 8 hours, except for UK, Brazil, and South Africa, and then like Panama, like cities here in South America, Panama, Argentina. So depends on that, but definitely land borders are still like a thing that we have to wait a little bit longer to know about that.
Yeah. But like you mentioned, air travel between South American countries is open, so that's probably your best bet to traveling to neighboring countries around Peru.
Right.
Um, so, in general, what are the other restrictions that are in place? Are masks required to be worn everywhere? And this question is from Taylor. And yes, by law, which was, you know, has been in place since the start a year ago of the health emergency that Peru has. It is required by law to wear a mask in public. So that's something that you just have to take into consideration once coming here. Um, and the curfew is still in place, but like we mentioned, the hours vary between regions that are high risk, low risk, and extreme risk. And again, check out our travel update post, and we'll put all of those any changes that happen there.
Right. And well, another question is, what is the current situation on vaccinating the Peruvian public? This question was from Mahalan, and well, right now the rollout of vaccination has begun, and there is a calendar set in place according to age groups. Here is, well, we're gonna put the link in a little bit, so you can see the update on vaccination process in Peru. But for example, right now what they're doing is vaccinating people over 80, and by the end of March, the people that it's from 60 to above, they have to be registered so they can get the vaccine. Basically, the last group to be vaccinated from like is from 60 to 69, that you have to be registered by March 26th to March 31st. So that's the last time, and then when they have them registered, then they will continue with all the phases that they have.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And our another question by Mahlon is, are domestic airlines in Peru limiting the number of passengers? And to the best of our knowledge, no.
Mm-hmm.
We know that certain airlines are keeping like the middle seat closed, like Delta in the US, but no, not internally. To the best of our knowledge, there is no
No.
limit on passengers.
Yeah, just check that with your airline. But for example, as I was saying, when I was coming from the US to Peru, when I did my layover, I had my flight from Panama to Lima. Actually, the whole plane was full of people. So even the middle seat were occupied by people. So that's the only thing. And well, next, what are the restrictions in these attractions? Which attractions are open, closed at this time? This question was from Melissa Sanchez, and she first asked for the Machu Picchu Inca Trail 2 day 1 night camping. It is open, but one thing is like you cannot camp. The only Inca Trail that you can camp is a camp is the 4 day 3 night. But this one, as I was mentioning earlier, you just walk from kilometer 101 until you get to the Sun Gate, and then like come down like Machu Picchu, and then sleep in Aguascalientes, and the next day you visit again Machu Picchu. So that's open. Then you have the Rainbow Mountain, which is open. The Amazon in Puerto Maldonado is not open yet. They're in extreme situation, extreme level. Then you have the Lake Titicaca is open, Huacachina is open, but not for sandboarding, just in case. Places in Huaraz like Laguna 669 and Laguna Paron are not open yet. Also, Huaraz is an extreme level, so everything is closed. Uh, but that's for now. That's the situation.
So just to be sure, the Inca Trail 2 day 1 night is the option that's open right now, and
Right.
instead of camping, people will have to sleep overnight in Aguascalientes.
Yeah, right. That's how it operates. That small part of the Inca Trail.
Cool. And like we mentioned, the opening of different touristic attractions is changing. So things will open up soon. And once things are open up, we will let you guys know. If you have specific places in mind that you want to visit, you can definitely contact us. Ask us again. We'll be here next week so we can answer those questions. But yeah, that's ever changing. So we'll definitely update you guys on places that are opening.
Right.
And is dining prohibited in Lima, Cusco, or Huaraz? Another question from Melissa. Like we mentioned, restaurants are open. The capacity varies from place to place. Dining in Lima, Cusco, and Huaraz is open.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
go
yeah,
ahead.
continue.
Yeah, so in those places, you are able to dine or take out.
Right. Yeah. As she was saying, just check in which level there are, because as we said, like, when it's a stream, you just have to you can dine in a 30% of the capacity. But if it's just a high risk, not very high, just high, it's like in there 50 inside and 60 outside. So just check that. And well, the final question before we go over the questions that we have in the comments is flights over 8 hours are permitted. This question was from Shane's. As we were mentioning, yes, they are permitted. The only ones that are not permitted are the ones from the UK, people coming from South Africa and Brazil. That's it.
Cool. So we got a few questions in the comments. I think we can clarify a few things for
Right.
people. Um, like we said, the 14-day quarantine is mandatory. You can exempt yourself if you take the antigen test at Jorge Chavez at your own expense. It costs between 160 and 180 soles. If you have a calculator. Flavia, what's that in dollars?
Let me see. 3.46.
Um, Another question that we got is for people who are vaccinated coming in. Are things different for them? And no, if you do have the vaccination, you still have to go through that process.
Yeah, and I already did the calculation. It's between $46 to $52, so you just have that range in mind.
Cool. And clarification of where you can do the quarantine. It has to be in Lima, correct, Flavia? Because we have a question about whether they can quarantine in Junin. But if
Oh,
you're
so right now, what we were reading is like you can actually do the quarantine in other place, but only if as soon as you arrive and you tell them I'm gonna do the quarantine here, you have to arrive to the next place within 24 hours.
okay.
If it's over 24 hours, you have to do the quarantine in Lima.
Okay, so let's say someone arrives in Lima, but they already have their ticket booked for another place where they do want to go, for example, Junin or Cusco.
But
That flight has to be within the 24 hours that you arrive in Lima
exactly, they have
International.
to arrive to the destination within 24 hours.
Okay. And Jan is asking about other tests. The law states that it has to be a PCR test. That's the test that you have to have proof of
Mm-hmm.
once arriving in Peru. Cody asks if you will get trouble for not wearing a mask, and
Yes.
yes, there are police. It was very strict with Army before, like a year ago, but now it's we all take care of each other, and everyone expects you to wear a mask in public. That is what everyone expects you to do.
Right. Exactly. And I'm reading from Jan. Do you allow the saliva test? Well, let me tell you that yes. When I was coming from the US, I did the saliva PCR. So you can do that one. And as soon as you just get your results, it's going to come like as a PCR. And as soon, like, the only thing that they need to see is like PCR negative, you're good to come. No, there's any, they're not going to tell you no for not for doing that one. So you're good.
Gisela asks about restaurants in Lima and Cusco and hotels. Like we said, restaurants are open, limited capacity. Hotels are open, limited capacity too. Anything to add there, Flavia?
I guess which one? Sorry, I
Uh,
was reading other questions.
if you have any specifics about, I'm just answering that yes, hotels are open in Cusco and Lima, and
Oh
restaurants
yes,
are open in Cusco and
yeah,
Lima.
they're
Limited
open.
capacity for both.
Yeah, you just have to check which hotels are open because some of them are stop operating due to the pandemic. So that's the only thing. But yes, they're operating, and restaurants are operating as are permitted by the government. Um, as we were saying, like you just have to check in which level each place is, so they will tell you how they're operating.
So Clint had a question. So he's not flying to Junin, he's going by bus. Do you know, Flavia, if that's the same situation, 24 hours?
The thing is, like, you have to arrive there within 24 hours as soon as.
Mm.
So if you don't, and that is if you don't take the antigen test. If you take it, as we were saying, you don't have any need to quarantine, and you just can't do anything. Just travel inside as normally, you know.
We have a question about traveling to Piura in May from Kike.
Uh huh.
Any concern there? Um, there is no, there are no restrictions to flying there and going there.
Hmm.
Um, like we said, the levels of alert are changing every 15 days. So, I think Piura is in alto
High,
riesgo, high
no,
risk, alto
high
riesgo.
risk. Yes.
So that can change to just high, not very high or extreme, but you do have to check, and we will update you if that level of risk changes.
Right.
Um, so Clint asks about the Via Panamericana. Flavia, do you want to answer that one?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so the Villa Panamericana, it's a place where right now they're taking people that to do the quarantine if they don't have a place. It's kind of like very far from the airport, but of course you have to do those arrangements as soon as you arrive with the health department that it's in the airport. Uh, and only you're required to quarantine there if you don't have a place to do your quarantine. Meaning, if you don't have a hotel to do the quarantine, you say, "Oh, I don't have a hotel or I don't have family that I can do the quarantine with," so you're taken there. That's the only thing. And yes, is it everything is at the traveler's cost. Basically, that's how it's operating right now.
Cool. Any expectations on when Laguna 69 and Baron will open?
Well, not yet. We This is constantly changing. So as we were saying, these places are closed because Huaraz is in extreme level. So uh, like if they continue there, those are not gonna be open. But if they change, like they start being or very high or high, they might open. So we just have to wait to what the government says, how the cases are going there, if they're going up or going down. It all depends on that.
And Tarapoto, we have a question from Jill about Tarapoto, and Tarapoto is in high risk at the moment, but you can travel there. And without quarantine means if you do take the antigen test at Jorge Chavez.
Right. If you do that antigen test, you can actually travel without any quarantine. And as we were saying, even though you have your vaccine, you have to meet all the requirements. That's what the government is asking. No matter if you're vaccinated or no, you have to do the PCR before arriving to Peru, and then take the antigen test if you don't want to quarantine. But yeah, everything has to be followed.
And Clint, we will make the edit that you mentioned about quarantining at the Via Panamericana, because we did get information that you can quarantine at home or at a hotel at your expense.
Yeah. So as Susana says, that's how it works right now. Like normally, that's what they say. Like you, the first place is the Villa Panamericana, but else you can do it in a hotel or the house. So that's something new that we got the information from.
Well, thank you, everyone. We want to keep it short and sweet. We got through most questions, I think all. We will come back next week. So if you have more questions, leave us a comment, send us a message on Facebook. You can sign up for our newsletter, send us an email at your friends. Did we put the email address? Your friends at livinginperu.com. And yeah, we will keep you updated on any changes. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, it was nice to see you guys. And as Susana said, anything that you need, please let us know in your friends at livinginperu.com. We are, well, yeah, we're open to answer any questions that you have and help you through this, because we know that sometimes there's a lot of information and it's kind of hard sometimes to get the right one. So that's what we're doing for you. So you just have everything clarified before you come in here.
Cool. Thanks, Flavia. Thanks, everyone.
And thanks, everyone. See you next week. Bye
Bye.
bye.